Yeah, yeah. No. Ladies and gentlemen, Dean Gordonitis unleashes book reviews, where I talk to you about a lot of classic literature, a lot of, literature. There's a lot of booktubers, as they seem to go by, that like to check out, graphic novels, young adult stuff. All that's cool and awesome, and if that's what your tastes are, that's great. I shoot more for the literary kind of stuff. Today, I think this is going to be sort of a fast one, because as long as it kind of took me to read this, it took me a couple weeks, there's not a whole lot of depth to it. And I think that's a good thing sometimes. I'm talking about The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, written by Mark Twain. It was published in 1876 when it first hit the printing press or whatever, but it's, based in 1845. And sometimes, for a book to be really good, it doesn't necessarily have to be really deep. Now, I'm not saying that Mark Twain didn't do his job well here. I think he did. But I guess what I'm getting at is sometimes when we think of literature, we think of stuff that we can really mull over and argue and debate about what the author was trying to convey and his emotions and feelings, all that, that stuff that you could sit in a classroom and discuss for a couple weeks. But sometimes, good literature is just about a good plot. It's okay sometimes if a book is really plot driven. I think as we progress as readers and move on from sort of that plot-based stuff that we grew up on as kids and early teenagers, and then our teachers tried to push us further and show us that there's more to books than just stories, it can be easy to forget that you can also have a classic that really just is based on a story. And I think that's what Mark Twain did here, and he did it really well. It's the story of adolescence, really. Tom Sawyer doesn't have an age, give or take. He could be anywhere from 9 to 13-ish is what I think, but I think it's cool that Mark Twain left the age out. It lets you kind of connect a little bit more, lets it place yourself into the story without being, ostracized by a number. Say, oh, well, I wasn't like that when I was 9, that was more when I was 12, whatever. It lets you connect more, But as much as it is just about adolescence, it's also a lot about maturing and maturity, too. Now, the book doesn't ever show Tom Sawyer growing up. You don't see him in his teen years, you don't see him as an adult, but what you do see is in the short, brief period of time that we have with him, he grows and matures. He starts out as a child who is very selfless, selfish, self-centered. And you can't blame him for that. In fact, there's something kind of endearing about that aspect to him. Most kids are like that. You can't really expect more. That's something you learn as you grow to kind of give of yourself. And that's something we see of Tom Sawyer in this book, and what makes him a lovable character, I think. Whether it comes from taking the blame for something bad that one of his friends did in school, and he gets the whipping when Becky Thatcher rips a page of the teacher's book on accident. He says it was me, and he takes the punishment for her. First real sign of selflessness there. Whether it's telling the truth at a court case, when he saw a crime take place and was the only one who could tell the truth as to who the real criminal was, or whether it's putting a classmate and a friend first when they're in a very dangerous situation, when Tom Sawyer gets stuck in a cave. What you see is Tom just growing up and being a better person. And what's interesting is in the beginning of the story, you see Tom looking at Huckleberry Finn as sort of somebody to look up to. And Huckleberry Finn is this kid who is the son of the town drunk. So more or less, he's kind of like an orphan. He's not forced to go to school or to attend church. He kind of does what he wants, sleeps where he wants, eats when he wants, as long as he can find food. Sort of that, like, child freedom that we all sort of remember from when we were a kid. And Tom Sawyer looks up to that, but as the story progresses, by the end of the book, Tom kind of has learned the qualities that come with becoming an adult and sort of giving in to the social norms, because you realize with all the negatives that come with those things, there's a lot of positives too. And by the end of the story, you have Tom Sawyer trying to convince Huckleberry Finn that, maybe you should try and join society and our rules, because there's a lot of positives to it. Interesting development in a character. Now, this is also the introduction to Huckleberry Finn, which a lot of people consider Mark Twain's masterpiece. This is the first taste we get of Huckleberry Finn as sort of a side character before he gets his own novel. And Huckleberry Finn is known for being more of an important novel because it takes on some social implications that is really left out of Tom Sawyer. While Huckleberry Finn takes on some things that were socially risky at the time, and still kind of are actually in classrooms, Tom Sawyer is much more innocent in nature. It's more just the adventures of a boy and the fun times that happen with that. And that's cool, and I like that. And sometimes, you know, you read a lot of dense literature and it starts to weigh on you, and it's good to read something like this. I believe that. Now, Tom Sawyer was based a lot on Mark Twain's life. He says the character is based off of like 3 people, I think he said, that lived in his town, which was also on the Mississippi River, very similar to Huckleberry Finn, or Tom Sawyer's fictional town that he lives in. His aunt in the book greatly represents Mark Twain's mother. You know, all different character associations like that. Mark Twain really pulled most of his ideas from this story from his real life, which I think lends some coolness to the story. Another interesting aspect I thought was just how much superstition is in this novel. Constantly, Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn are talking about all these different superstitions, witches and ghosts, and getting rid of warts by taking dead cats' places, and digging for treasure only at the stroke of midnight. And I just find that interesting for the time period, and children though too, how much of an impact superstition really has on culture and on our children in particular. Interesting stuff. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys kind of think about the whole superstition aspect of the story as well, you know? Yeah, I think that digs pretty deep into this one. Not that there's a whole lot of deepness to dig, if that makes sense. You know, I think this is just a fun book, a fun story along the same lines as, say, The Phantom Tollbooth, maybe Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland. You know, sometimes you just got to have a fun book for the sake of a fun story, and realize that there's a lot of merit for that too. And I think that's what Mark Twain delivers here. I'd also like to shoot out there that I was really surprised how well this has aged. I expected it to be a lot harder to read with the language that if I were to give it to, say, my child someday that I may have, that he would be bored with the language. But I was pleasantly surprised, and I think I would have really enjoyed this when I was a kid. You know, to the point that I almost consider reading it to my kids at night someday before they go to bed, if reading books to your kids at night is still something adults do, instead of giving their kids iPads. Yeah! Alright, anyways, halfway through Sound and the Fury, I picked it back up and I'm going to finish it, because that is a dense one, and you guys want to hear my thoughts, and I really want to hear your thoughts, because as much as I've extracted from it, I think there's a lot more that you guys are going to be able to help me out with. So look forward to that video. I look forward to you guys watching it and helping me out after I give my thoughts, and I'll be talking to you soon. Thanks for watching, guys. I just broke 2,000 subscribers, by the way, and I couldn't be happier. It's all because of you guys, and I really, genuinely am appreciative. So thank you very much. All right, I'll see you guys soon.